Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, and I'm joined as always by the number one, not number two, not number three, but the number one producer in late night. It's Blake Osborne.
It's number 4. I'm number
4. Well, then who's ahead of
5. I'll take 5.
Okay. So who's number 4?
I don't know.
If you don't know, then there you go.
Okay.
This reminds me, I don't know why this came into my head, but we did sports ball yesterday.
Yes, I saw some of that.
Yeah, and we were talking about the AP poll, the preseason poll for college football came out.
Okay.
And for people who are in the know on my bread and circuses, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are not playing in fall football. But they ranked Big Ten and Pac-12 teams in the preseason top 25, even though their seasons are canceled. They're not playing. And the AP said, I don't know why they did that. They did say that after week 1, all of those teams will drop out of the rankings because they're not playing. Okay. They're not participating. But why did they rank them then?
So basically it's like half of football there?
Well, it's 3/5.
Okay.
But the point being is that if Ohio State's not playing this year, then why is Ohio State ranked?
Right.
So they're actually second. Ohio State is preseason number 2, even though they're not playing. So literally after the first week, they won't even be in the rankings. But for the preseason rankings, they're ranked. It just goes to show. I don't know. I don't know why they did that.
How is this even going to work? I mean,
what do you mean? How's it going to work?
I mean, it's like that. Does that almost like what it sounds like to me is you're saying like half the schools are not going to be participating.
Well, about 40%. About 40% of the schools are not participating. And for the ones that are participating, a lot of them are doing kind of specialized schedules where they're only playing teams within their own conference. They're not playing in their out-of-conference games. Or if they're playing out-of-conference games, they're playing teams that are geographically nearby. I don't really want to get into...
I know, but it's just...
Yeah.
I guess if you're into college ball, it's just not going to be the same.
Oh, it's definitely not going to be the same, but... I mean, if they were going to cancel the season in its entirety, I'd be up in arms. Right. Like, I love football.
I know you do.
And, of course, the NBA's playing the playoffs, and the NHL's in the playoffs, and Major League Baseball's playing. They're going to be going to the postseason soon. So, sports are coming back. It would be ridiculous if football didn't also come back.
Right.
But, I don't know, man. It's just the absurdity of the whole thing that... You know, it's that the whole thing with college football is like the microcosm of the guy wearing a mask, but it's not over his nose. Yeah. You know, it's like you're doing it, but you're not really doing it. So just take it off.
Your whole heart's not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole heart's not in it. You know.
Speaking of your heart not being in it, so the Democratic convention's over. Republican convention is well underway.
Yep, sure is.
I think actually it's about to be over.
Thank God.
And I felt remiss if we didn't at least mention some things on the show about it, but I couldn't do it.
Okay, I don't blame you.
I couldn't do it. Yeah. I couldn't stand to watch a single minute of these just pedophiles and rapists telling us. My throat, you know. Yeah. And so the thing that stood out to me the most about the Democratic convention was, of course, obviously Biden accepts the nomination.
Sure.
And I've told people this months ago, that this whole election is like a case study in each campaign trying to outdo the other in who's the worst candidate. Like they're not running to see who the best candidate is. No. They're running to see who the worst candidate is, and then the other person wins.
Yeah, it's almost like how bad can you act and still get elected?
Yeah, well, and to be fair, like they're always bad candidates, but 2016 with Trump and Hillary was really kind of like the mask coming down of look just how bad things are. And this is really a continuation of that, if not nary worse. Yeah. And so Biden, the reason I bring up Biden is that he accepts the nomination and he says, if I'm elected president, I'm going to have health experts. And if they say we should shut down the economy, I'm going to shut down the economy. And he says, if we need a national mask mandate, then I'm going to force through a national mask mandate. And I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, if I was running for president and I was going to only do things to guarantee I lose, I would do those things.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I used to say this, by the way, I used to say this about the Libertarian Party and their Nick Sarwark, who's the chairman of the Libertarian Party, and his time is over. He's moving on. But a lot of people didn't really like Nick. A lot of people thought he was terrible for the party, that he alienated people and all this other stuff, which I agree with, but I don't. But I agree with it, but I also don't care, because the Libertarian Party is a political party, so they can go to euthanasia.com/politics and make the right choice. But the point being is that I used to tell people, if I were actually a CIA plant and I was going to do things to purposely ruin the Libertarian Party, I would do things exactly the way Nick does them. Like, I'm not saying that he is a CIA plant. I'm saying he's just as good as one. And so I'm not saying that Biden is trying to lose the election. But I'm saying if I were trying to lose the election, I would say and do the things Biden says and does.
Yeah.
But then again, I also thought to myself, but with Trump being the incumbent and us being on the road to a massive economic recession, if not depression, which incumbents don't win during economic recessions.
Right.
And just how unpopular he is in general. It's been 4 whole years of Hollywood and the media and everybody just constantly ragging on him. But, and to his credit, giving them plenty of ammunition by just being a doofus. You would think there's no way this guy gets reelected until you see who the until you see that. And then you're like, well, there's no way that guy is going to unseat the incumbent.
Look at that smirk.
I know. He's a lizard person. That's what it is.
Either that or he's trying to figure out how many lights there are in the ceiling.
What it is his skin suit isn't fitting quite right. They're going to have to make some alterations. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But what it ultimately left me with is, now I'm wondering, so that was Biden's shot. Yeah. That was his way of showing how terrible he is. Yeah. So now we get to wait and see what Trump does next to prove to the country that he's actually the worst candidate.
Or that, or he's just going to bribe everybody with stimulus checks again.
Well, they did that, but the Democrats are doing this thing where they're mad because Trump didn't shut down things and use the office of the executive to go harder on COVID. Right. But then they'll also blame him for the economic recession caused by state governors who did shut down. They'll do that too. Yeah. And it's really his own fault, because he's also tried to stick his nose in it and talk about what a great job he did. If you talk about what a great job you're doing and then the country goes to crap, then you're de facto accepting the blame. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I can't tell you for certainty who I think yet who is going to win. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but in most elections, usually by now, I tell you so-and-so is going to win. And I've been right like the last 4 or 5, 6 elections. I still am not quite ready to make my pick. I'm leaning that it's going to be Donald Trump but I feel like, but I don't know if that's just my own personal bias, because I don't want Kamala Harris to be a breath away from the presidency. So since I don't want her to be there, I'm saying maybe Trump will win.
You're hoping Trump will win so we don't wind up with that.
But if they had just nominated, like you always hear about celebrities potentially running, like if they had just nominated The Rock, then he would walk away with the presidency. He'd walk away with it. He wouldn't have to, but the thing is he wouldn't have to campaign or debate. Just don't run the risk of saying or doing anything people don't like. Right. Just smile and say, vote for me, and flex. Give him a flex. And you're done. Yeah. And he'd win. He'd get like 70% of the freaking vote.
I'd make a charming president. Yeah.
But they got Biden and Harris instead. So I don't know. I might not be ready to make my pick until the actual debates get here, assuming they even have debates. But I'm leaning Trump because I just think Biden and Harris are just awful. Yeah. But we'll see.
We'll see.
You know what else we'll see?
What?
What a great show we have in store for everyone when we come back from the commercial break.
That a babe.
If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley. You know what I forgot to mention in the monologue?
What did you forget?
So we did a little bit of a rebranding.
Uh-huh.
And let me, this is what I love. You know what I love to do? We're a little bit behind already on time, so I'm going to waste some time.
There you go.
All right. So people who know me know that I don't exactly love social media.
Right.
But how else do you grow your influence? How else do you reach more audience members?
Yeah.
Especially when you have no money like us. And so I decided, you know what? We're going to get rid of all the ancillary pages. I'm going to make a public figure page.
Okay.
And so I went through through Facebook's little tutorial where it clones your profile. And that clone becomes a public figure page so that you can have more than the maximum likes and followers and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so I changed so the public figure page is facebook.com/Alan Mosley TV.
Okay.
Which is actually going to be what our new website URL is alanmosley.tv.
Okay.
So we're alanmosley.tv on every platform. Twitter's at Alan Mosley TV,
Nice.
Facebook.com/Alan Mosley TV, Facebook/Alan Mosley TV. It's really easy.
Yeah. Super
But
easy.
here's the thing. This is the reason I bring this up. Is now that I did that, I was like, you know what I'm going to do with my profile? I'm just going to gut that SOB.
Yeah.
I'm going to delete everybody. And if you're hearing this and you were a friend of Alan Mosley, the person, on Facebook, and you find out you're not anymore, it's not personal.
Right.
I'm going to leave friends on there that I know who they are and that I've spoken to in person
Right.
in the last 6 months.
Okay.
And everyone else I'm deleting, and then I'm going to max privacy setting everything so that my profile can just become just a means of communication privately. And for everything show related, it'll be on the public figure page, Alan Mosley TV.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
So I start just by the hundreds. I'm just deleting stuff. I'm just deleting everything off of my personal profile that's show related, deleting all the friends list.
Yeah.
Facebook locked me out of my own friends list.
Because you were deleting too many
Because I
friends?
was deleting so many people. I get an error message that says you're trying to do something and your activity is limited for X amount of time.
Oh, okay.
Facebook considers you deleting, unfriending people as spam.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. So I went down from
because you were doing it too fast.
So I went from like a few thousand people on my personal profile,
Yeah.
which I don't have a few thousand friends.
Right.
I mean, you know me, I'm about as friendly of a guy as they come. But I don't have a few thousand friends. I got down to like 1,230, and I'm just as fast as I can remove them.
Yeah.
And it stops. And then I get the error message saying I'm locked out of my own friends list so that I can't unfriend people
Right.
for some undetermined. It doesn't say how long. It just says some time. Because it's spam.
It's weird.
I don't know. Like they're protecting me from myself.
Or maybe they think somebody's hacked your account and is wiping out all your friends. I don't know.
Well, you know, the thing is I would just delete my profile.
Yeah.
But you have to have a profile in order to have pages.
Right.
Like my profile is the admin of my page.
Right. So you can't really delete that. So, yeah.
Because I otherwise would have just deleted it and just had a page, but they won't let you do
I
that.
know.
Ugh.
Parlor.
It's just, I tried so hard. Like I was feeling so good about myself. I was like, man, I figured out a way to stay ahead of the shadow ban this time because we're getting good traffic on the page.
Good.
We're getting really good traffic on the new page.
Good.
But I want to get rid of all the rest of it because I want to spend as little time on there as possible.
Right.
And it's like The Godfather, you know, they just pull you back in. So anyway, Alan Mosley TV is where you go for everything.
Good.
This show right now is being streamed on Facebook.com/Alan Mosley TV and on YouTube.com/Alan Mosley TV.
There you go.
And if you're wondering, like if you're in the chat somewhere and you're wondering why no one else is talking, because you're not at that place.
Right.
Go there.
Go there.
If you're on my profile right now, leave. This is a barren wasteland. Go to Alan Mosley TV. So there you go.
Yep.
Got that covered.
Got you covered.
Hey Blake.
Yes.
What time is it?
It's time for...
It's one of my favorite quotes by one of my favorite founding fathers, Samuel Adams. I loved when he said, "If ye love health better than liberty, The tranquility of servitude better than the animated virus of freedom. Go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and disinfect the hands which feed you. May your masks set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen. I like how COVID keeps on figuring out a way to get into this program, even though I said like 2 months ago that I wasn't going to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
It's because it won't end.
Yeah.
By the way, just really quick, I know that there was another police shooting in Wisconsin.
Yes.
We're not talking about that today, and there's 2 reasons why.
Why?
One, I'm going to wait until some more stuff comes out in the news because I like to have a well-rounded,
Yeah.
Yeah. And 2, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I literally said like all the way back like a month ago, I said we don't want to cover this anymore, but they just keep shooting people.
They just keep shooting people.
And here we are a month later, and they just keep shooting people. And so I can't do it this week, I guess is what I'm saying. This week,
nobody blames you, man.
We're not. Well, I'm glad nobody blames me.
We're all sick of it. All of us.
We are sick of it.
We are sick
I tell you what we're not sick of.
What are we not sick
I'm not sick of all the people who went to our new page, facebook.com/AlanMosleyTV, to leave us viewer mail questions.
Here we go.
Let's answer the viewer mail. Let's catch up a smoothie. Let's find out. It is, by the way. It is a smoothie. All right, so we're going to do the viewer mail. Starting off here, you probably should have pulled it up before I said so.
Okay.
We actually got one from Parler.
Parler.
So Parler at Alan Mosley. I am the real Alan. I'm not just a Alan Mosley on Parler.
Bro.
I'm the Alan Mosley. At Alan Mosley on Parler. John Connor asks, Dear Alan and Blake, if you were to leave the USA for another country, where would you go and why? Blake, where would you go?
I guess Germany because I have family there, but I don't know if that's better.
I mean, politically, it's probably not better, but Germany is beautiful.
It is beautiful, yes.
Yeah, I want to go. I want to go to Germany and see the castles and, the mountains and all that stuff.
It's worth it. I've seen them. They're nice. Very green in Germany.
Yeah.
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 The plane flight, though, that'll kill you.
Well, you know me, I don't fly, so I'll just row.
You take a boat to Germany. That'd take a while.
Mary Lynn Wilimowski of Liberty Late Night, Dave and Mary. Mary asks, what is the last thing you ate? Blake, what's the last thing you ate?
SpaghettiOs.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Blake is 9 years old. The last thing he ate is SpaghettiOs.
See the size of my cheeks? That's too much SpaghettiOs right there, ladies and gentlemen.
So you're a SpaghettiO aficionado then?
Oh man, Chef Boyardee's been my boy for a long time.
Okay, I get that, but Chef Boyardee makes lots of different products. Why SpaghettiOs specifically?
Oh, well, actually SpaghettiOs aren't Chef Boyardee, so I kind of, But anyway, I like canned, pasta stuff. I just kind of like that. It's fast, it's cheap, it's easy. Kind of like
Blake is cheap and easy, guys.
That's right, yeah, I get it. I said food as fast as I can get it in my mouth, it's going down the hatch. That's food, by the way.
We're just going to leave that one right where it is. David Wilimowski of Liberty Late Night, Dave and Mary. David writes, writing off of Mary's question. So Dave's totally not original this week. He's just writing off of Mary's question.
Yeah.
If you were on death row, what would you order for your final meal? Not SpaghettiOs, though, right, Blake?
No, not SpaghettiOs.
What's your final meal, Blake?
Can it have cyanide in it?
I'm going to say no. Like, you have to, basically you're telling people what your favorite meal is. So, we're not going to do the actualies.
I don't have a favorite meal.
Well, what would you... Answer the question!
Chicken.
Wasn't there a famous serial killer who their final meal was a bucket of KFC chicken?
I agree with that. A bucket of KFC.
Okay, so if somebody in chat knows what I'm talking about, let us know who it was that, the famous serial killer who their final meal was KFC chicken. So we'll know who the kindred spirit of Blake Osborne is.
KFC's so honored right now.
Mine's chicken fajita nachos all the way.
But you get that all the time.
I know. Well,
those are good.
gotta get it on my way out. Lyle Dirio asked, Dear Alan and Blake, how much money do I get in the mail for a double hurricane? So Lyle Dirio lives in the path of the hurricanes.
Wow.
But you know how there's rainbows and there's double rainbows?
Uh-huh.
Well, there's also double hurricanes, and that's what Lyle's getting ready to get.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be all right, man.
I hope it kind of like does a little scissor thing and it goes all the way around you, Lyle. But how much money will Lyle get in the mail for a double hurricane? I mean, if we do another stimulus check, then $1,200. Yeah. So that should be good to recover all of your lost possessions. There you go.
Let me give him some advice. Just make sure you're up on your insurance payments.
Yeah. So there you go. Andrew Avery writes, Dear Alan and Blake, should I eschew obfuscation?
What?
Now, Andrew, you can't use $5 words with Blake. It's too much.
No, I mean, I'm pretty good with words, but I haven't heard those before.
Okay.
Seriously.
So the answer is you should not with your neighbors and fellow man, but you should with the feds. Celeste Annis writes, I know, poor Blake. Celeste Annis writes, Dear Alan and Blake, what is your favorite spice, herb, or seasoning besides salt and pepper?
Oh, that's easy. Garlic salt, man. Garlic.
Garlic?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably going to say garlic.
Tony's. You know what Tony's is?
What?
The Louisianan spice. You know?
Yeah, but what is it?
It's cayenne pepper mixed with paprika and some other stuff like that. It's pretty bad to the bone.
You know, me and Annika have been watching this show on I forget if it's on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Cake Wars.
Yeah.
Where the 4 different teams, like bakers, make cakes for a specific theme.
Oh, yeah.
And there's 2 rounds. The first round is they have to make a little cake with particular ingredients.
Right.
And then the second round is they make a giant cake for some special event. And in the first round, sometimes they have to pick from a selection of special ingredients. Yeah. And sometimes they're really weird. It's not like chocolate or banana for cakes. It's like cayenne pepper or jalapenos or whatever.
What?
Yeah. And I'm always like,
cake, man.
That just, I don't know, it feels like to me you might not be picking the genuinely best baker. You're just picking the one who can make some sort of freak retarded cake. Like, I don't want to, it's supposed to be sweet. I don't want a savory cake. I want a sweet cake.
I don't want a cake that burns my mouth when I bite into it.
Yeah, I don't want to have to. It's nice to have cake with a glass of milk. I don't want to need the milk to soothe my tongue.
Exactly.
After I bite the cake.
Like 5 million on the Scoville scale or something.
I'm nailing it this week with the goat trails that make no sense to the show.
There you go.
Kim Brown asks, Dear Alan and Blake, what's your favorite season? What's your favorite season, Blake?
Fall.
Fall?
Yeah, fall.
Why?
Because summer's hot as heck and winter's freezing butt. They're both wet and they're both full of bugs. Sucks. At least fall you can go outside and enjoy yourself. Hey, I'm a farmer, and let me tell you, summer is hard, man. And winter ain't any easier. 1, your lunch, and number 2, you're frozen in water everywhere. It's horrible.
Yeah, but I like summer though because I really just want to wear shorts and a t-shirt every day, all the time. I'm a shorts.
Wear that in fall.
Not always, not everywhere. I mean, fall in this neck of the woods is usually still pretty warm. Okay. Yeah. Fall in like Canada's, they're already having 6 feet of snow. Yeah, true. So I'm not going to take any risks. I'm just going to say summer. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Last one for this week. Michael Clark asks, Dear Alan and Blake, is a Donald Trump a sandwich? Now Mike is trying to be cute right here, but I did the research. Okay. A Donald Trump is a sandwich. So check out this right here. The Trump sandwich comes with bologna and is served by an immigrant. So I'm going to read the little fine print right there. The Trump sandwich is packed full of bologna, Russian dressing, and American cheese on white bread with a small pickle on the side. All right, that's fair. That's awesome. All right, that's fair. Man, it looks disgusting, by the way. I'm not opposed to a slice of bologna every now and again.
I'd eat it.
I don't want a stack of bologna this thick. That looks a little bit disgusting. But the small pickle, I like that.
It's a rocket. Yes, I agree.
We're like halfway through the show and we haven't even gotten to the main segments yet.
That's just the way we roll. Bro.
It's kind of become a thing for us,
Yeah. Hey, man. Keep it on.
Well, I guess we better get to it.
Yes,
Your ad could be playing right now, reaching thousands of potential customers. Sadly, it's not, but it could be. Find out how to be an advertised sponsor for It's Too Late with Alan Mosley. Email us at alan@funnybroke.com. People are only here for the music. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm just making sure. So listen to this. So, like, I totally said we weren't going to talk about the Rona anymore.
Right.
And so since we're not, we're going to talk about Rona testing and other stuff.
Sure.
The NFL, I think the first football game is September 10th, something like that.
Okay.
Me and Mike had said we're going to do like a live broadcast for the first NFL game. Cool. So you would think I would know when that is. I think it's September 10th.
Okay.
It's on a Thursday, whatever. The Texans are playing, so no one cares. But the thing is that, so with them gearing up, they've got all their special Rona protocols and staying in bubbles and trying to keep sort of a tight network so that players aren't exposed to different people, all that kind of stuff. Just like the other sports leagues are.
Yeah.
But so obviously they're doing regular testing. They're really trying to keep a lid on positive tests, and if someone gets a positive test, they're quarantined.
Okay.
If there's an outbreak with a team, they kind of suspend operations for a time, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is about that is that so then they kind of have the luxury, of course the NFL has a lot of money.
Yeah.
They have the luxury of regular, consistent testing.
Exactly.
So that they know that not only is a player negative for the Rona, but they stay that way.
Yeah.
This is a story that actually comes to us from ESPN. The headline: all of NFL's positive coronavirus tests from the weekend returned negative. So there was some big waves in the media because they had 77 players last week test positive for the Rona.
Wow.
Now that's big news because obviously that's a huge outbreak.
Yeah.
They can't afford to have hundreds of players testing positive because they obviously would run the risk of having to shut down whole operations.
Sure.
Entire training camps would have to come to a halt if that many people were catching it.
Right.
By the way, I'm not saying they would have to. I'm just saying that they would be recommended to by powers that be.
Right.
But the thing is the NFL, and they have this rich lab in New Jersey doing their testing. They sort of disputed this. They're like, this seems wrong. Like if I'm just looking at the trends nationwide and I'm looking at the level of cases and testing and deaths being way down and everything else, it seems like this thing's kind of on its way out. So it would seem odd to go from having the player base by and large be testing negative to all of a sudden having 77 positive tests. Well, the NFL's rich. They can pay to have additional testing done. Sure. Turns out those were all false positives.
Wow.
So I'm going to read a little bit of this. The NFL has cleared all individuals who tested positive over the weekend for the coronavirus after the testing partner called an isolated contamination during test preparation. All the original test results have been classified as false positives. 11 teams, there's 32 NFL teams, 11 teams were affected by the mistake. 77 individuals had positive tests, leading some anxious moments and altered Sunday practice schedules. But ultimately, no evidence of an outbreak. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen was among those initial tests resulted as a false positive, forcing him to miss some of their practices. So the NFL has retested the original 77 tests. Okay. They all come back through as negative.
Wow.
But that sort of kind of leads us to sort of a bigger meta discussion here.
Yeah.
Which is, if we know that it's that easy for false positives to happen, and to happen in a particularly high number of individuals.
Right.
And also to understand, like, look, not everybody has the resources at their disposal that the National Football League has.
Right.
They have a huge financial invested interest in this season getting going.
Yeah.
And without a hitch. And so they have the resources dedicated to trying to keep their players healthy, but also for regular testing. And they also had the financial means and the incentive to, when there was this potential big outbreak, to double test, triple test, quadruple test, just on the chance, on a lark, that maybe those are false positives. And it turns out they were.
That's a good call.
Well, it's a good call for them.
Yeah.
But most people don't have that luxury.
No, you only get one test and you are or aren't. That's
Yeah, you get a test, you are or aren't.
Right.
And I think, and while it may be possible for you to get retested and maybe it is a false positive, I think a lot of people just wouldn't.
Right.
I think a lot of people, if they go and get a test, now, like if they do have the Rona and they test negative, then they're going to assume they're negative, go on with their lives.
That's right.
If they test positive for the Rona, they're going to say, oh, well,
yeah, something's going on.
you know, maybe they had a cold and so they go to get a test and it says they have the Rona. Well, they just assume that must be right. I mean, that's what the tests are for, and it must be right. And so now, depending on where you live, they're going to make you stay home for 2 weeks, or you can't travel and all this stuff. And maybe even if you live somewhere where there weren't really hardcore shutdowns and mandates, maybe you would do that yourself. You would say, well, if I tested positive, I'm going to, maybe I wasn't a big mask wearer, whatever, but I'm going to take it upon myself to distance a little bit because I don't want to be the result for this.
Yeah.
But we know for a fact, and we talked about this on previous episodes, we know for a fact that the data is skewed. Because we know for a fact first of all, they were, the powers that be were basing the coronavirus hysteria based on deaths, on mortality. And then when deaths went way down, they started to base it on cases rather than deaths.
Right.
But even when they were still using COVID-related deaths as their metric to justify the actions by government, we know that the data was faulty because there were all of these reports coming out where if someone died, they were suspected of or tested to have had the coronavirus, they would list that as a coronavirus death, a COVID-related fatality. Yeah. The problem is that didn't matter to them how the people actually died. Exactly. It only mattered if they potentially had the Rona. So if someone died in, say, a motorcycle accident in Florida, and there was reason to suspect or they tested positive for coronavirus, they would say that was a coronavirus-related death, even though I'm pretty sure like being decapitated by the asphalt is what actually caused your death. Yeah. And we just know for a fact that this is not isolated incidents. But again, they moved the goalposts. It's no longer, we're not talking about deaths anymore. We're talking about cases. Right. But we still have the same sort of problem. That if they're going to justify the hysteria based on, well, look at all the cases, they're not going to talk about the fact that, well, a lot more people are being tested. Right. If a lot more people are being tested, it just stands to reason that the case numbers will go up. Yeah. Because if people had the virus before but weren't tested for it, then that's not showing up in the data. Sure. So just because cases are going up, if you test 10 million more people, that doesn't necessarily mean the virus is spreading. That just means you're more consciously aware of its existence. Exactly. And so, but same thing here. How do we know in our, I say our loosely, not us, but how do we know in society's rush to get out tests, in society's rush to find out more information from more people, right, and also in certain special interest rush to have more documented cases, to have more coronavirus patients, because hospitals are being financially incentivized to record and log more coronavirus cases. Right. How do we know for certain that all of these are true positive cases and not, in the case of the NFL, 77 players, false positives? Yeah. I guess the point I really want to get across today is that I don't know. I don't know for certain whether or not a mask would really help you and whether or not you should wear one if you're healthy or sick. I'm not going to wear one. But I won't tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Right. I don't think anyone should be forced to, but I'm not telling you what you should and shouldn't do. And I don't know exactly where the data is. It may very well be that there's way more cases, and that if everyone could magically be tested, you would find out that there's a lot more cases than you originally anticipated. Although I would say, then again, but you would need to go back to like March and test everyone, and then test everyone in April, and then test everyone in June, in July, and August, to have an idea of the trend. Is it going up or is it coming down? Right. My instinct is that it's coming way down,
Yeah.
and that there is data to show cases are also coming down along
Right.
with deaths, even though testing has been increased.
Yeah.
My instinct is that this is wrapping up. But because more people are being tested and therefore more positive cases are being found, that's being used as justification. But again, there's just no way for us to know in the mad dash for information, just like in the mad dash for a vaccine, by the way, there's no way for us to know how legit the data is.
Right.
It's hard to really balance that.
Right.
And of course, my default position is always to not trust the official figures from government.
Right.
That's my default position. And I'm not saying, by the way, that they're 100% always wrong.
Right.
I'm just saying my default position is to be distrustful until proven otherwise.
Right.
And in this particular instance, it's hard to prove otherwise.
Yeah.
And I want to finish this point with the same thing about a vaccine. If they're rushing to put out a vaccine for COVID-19, knowing some of the inhibitions that people have about vaccines just as a blanket, just all vaccines,
Right.
but also the fact that you know that there's going to be some imbalanced incentives for some pharmaceutical giant who's in bed with government to rush out a vaccine, and that it would benefit them to lobby government to mandate that vaccine nationwide, because at the end of the day, they're going to make more money. They're going to produce more vaccines and sell more vaccines to state and local governments. That just, there's just so much shady business going on.
Sure.
That it's just hard to know the truth.
Yep.
It's hard to know the truth in the same way, and we've talked about this exact topic on the show before, in the same way that it's hard to know where you get any of your news from.
Right.
Now, I hope that our listeners trust us and think that we're a good source of information. I certainly, when we look at articles and look at data, we sometimes purposely put things off a week or two because I want to try to get a well-rounded instance of information before I start running my mouth about something.
Yeah.
And all I can say about all this is that I really don't know for certain, because I don't think anyone knows for certain. And someone who is taking something that they can't possibly know for certain and then preaching it as the gospel and trying to force other people into decisions based on that skewed information,
Right.
those people for certain can't be trusted.
Right.
Especially when you know that they have financial incentive for a particular viewpoint, whether it's right or wrong.
Exactly.
I always feel bad. I feel bad when people ask, because sometimes we get that. We get the question of, well, where do you go for X, Y, and Z? Where do you go for information on this, that, and the other?
Yeah.
And I tell people, man, that's a hard question.
Everywhere.
It's hard to go to ESPN.
Yeah.
So it's hard to go to CNN.
Yeah.
It's hard to go to Fox or MSNBC. It's hard to go to any corporate media.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that everything they say is wrong.
Right.
If they were just reporting the who, what, where, when of something.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take that, I guess, at face value
Sure.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, the editorial stuff, no thanks to that.
Right.
But it's tough to answer the question of where you go. I guess at the end of the day, instead of being distraught by this question, is I tell people this is just more reason to cultivate making your own decisions and doing the best being as self-reliant as you can, being as well prepared as you can be, whether you make the right or wrong decision.
Right.
But ultimately taking that responsibility in your own hands.
Yep.
And also trying to maybe get out of your bubble from time to time
Right.
and get a wealth of knowledge from a variety of different sources to help inform your decision. Not to take as the gospel, but to help inform your decision. Not take their decision to inform your decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad you agree.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one.
Well, good.
Mhm.
Well, all right then.
And anybody who doesn't needs to look at the material.
Well, you know me. I think anyone who doesn't can go to euthanasia.com/COVID-19.
Here we go.
I'm in a good mood, so I'm not gonna wish that on people this week,
Nah.
except for Biden and Kamala and yeah, and the people who enforce mandates.
Yep.
I just noticed it was time for the next segment, so I'm gonna waste some more time.
Sure.
I was gonna go up to Lexington I was going to go up to Lexington tomorrow
Yeah, you were telling me
for
that.
the We See You Watching Lexington rally that our friends Clay Davis and Mike Maharrey are going to be at, talking about warrantless surveillance in Lexington.
Yeah.
And I can't go.
Yeah.
I can't go because Lexington apparently is on their way to their 3rd month of hardcore lockdowns and mask mandates, and I just won't do it. So the city of Lexington, they will not get my money for a hotel room or for a bite to eat because I will not go there because they're doing that crap.
Right.
You had made the awesome reflection earlier that isn't it funny that they want everyone to wear a mask at the rally to protest surveillance?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be right back after this break. There we go.
Yeah,
dude, I'm still off put by what you did last week.
I just thought I'd,
No.
put a little flavor in the last one.
I think some of the viewers in chat were a little upset as well.
What?
They've come to expect the and you didn't deliver.
Okay.
All right, I'm just saying.
All right.
It was uncomfortable. It really was. Our last thing for today, we're actually going to talk a little bit of gaming related news.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know.
Or not.
So you ever played any of the Call of Duty series, Blake?
Oh man, I think I have about a good whole year of my life spent on that stupid game.
Really? Big Call of Duty guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is related to the latest installment of the Call of Duty franchise that's coming out. Okay. So this is an article from Kotaku. Call of Duty trailer replaced worldwide over Tiananmen Square footage. Now get this, so Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is the latest installment of Call of Duty franchise that's going to be coming out in the near future, and they had released a 2-minute cinematic trailer worldwide for the game. Okay. Now Call of Duty, for people that are not familiar, which it's a popular franchise, they like to kind of mix in a lot of real world events and footage into the game. Yep. To kind of give it that sort of realism and time, era and time frame and all that. Yeah. And so they do this 2-minute cinematic trailer, goes worldwide on their YouTube and other pages, that involves a lot of footage from real world events. Right. And one of those is footage from the Tiananmen Square protests in 1989. Right. Well, China.
Yep.
China didn't like that too much.
Oh, no.
China didn't like that too much, so the Chinese Communist government immediately censors that video in China. Nobody in China can see this 2-minute trailer that has even the briefest mentions of Tiananmen Square in the footage because CCP says that never happened. Doesn't exist. Fake news. Fake news. Yeah. So they censor the trailer. Okay. But here's the thing. So we're going to get into the article a little bit. So the debut trailer was blocked in China and subsequently edited everywhere else. So it was blocked in China, but it was also edited everywhere else, not just in China. Right. After featuring about a few seconds worth of footage from the communist government's crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in 1989. When the game was first announced, a trailer running for 2:02, 2 minutes 2 seconds, was released to the world and hosted on the official Call of Duty and Xbox YouTube pages, along with major trailer sites like IGN and GameSpot. Right. On the 21st, however, the videos on those pages were replaced with a much shorter 1-minute version. This isn't an additional trailer. Right. It's a replacement. And we know that because, as Kotaku says, their original 2-minute trailer is no longer working. Nobody noticed the switch when it took place, but Hong Kong news sites, of course it would be Hong Kong, them troublemakers, So Hong Kong news sites Apple Daily and South China Morning Post pointed out that it was definitely noticed in China, where the original trailer was swiftly blocked and has been since replaced with the edited version. And a lot of people recognized the Tiananmen Square footage and began commenting online.
Yeah.
So if you're interested about it, you can find the trailer online. It's about the minute 5 mark in.
Yeah.
So you can get why the communist government in China would want to do this, and that they would want a re-edited trailer for the Chinese market, because they have strict controls on foreign media.
Right.
But here's the thing: a lot of boomer cons out there, they're ranting and raving about China in the same way that the leftists rant and rave about Russia.
Right.
For the last 4 years, it's been Russia. But the people on the right, it's China.
Right.
We gotta keep our military spending up. Yep. We gotta keep those nukes locked and loaded. We gotta fund the Pentagon because the boogeyman that is China.
Uh-huh.
A lot of that's BS. A lot of that is total BS.
Yep.
However, I'll admit that there's some wicked stuff behind the scenes when it comes to China. Now, there are a lot of multi-billion-dollar Chinese companies, but those companies are totally in bed, if not flat-out controlled by the CCP.
Right.
So how does this bring us back to this particular instance of the Call of Duty trailer? The Chinese gaming giant Tencent has a 5% stake in Activision.
Okay.
Activision is the publisher of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So ultimately, if you believe that Tencent basically is just a figurehead of it, they're controlled by the Chinese government, and I do totally believe that, by the way. Yeah. And Tencent has a 5% stake in Activision, then they are a stakeholder who would potentially be affected by Call of Duty.
Right.
So, and by the way, this isn't the first time this has happened. Back in 2018, Black Ops 2 was banned from internet cafes when government officials realized the game featured a bombing of a Chinese city. So since that was in the game, they cut that in China as well. Yeah. So the point being is that when major business interests on this side of the pond go into bed with Chinese investment,
yeah,
and that Chinese investment is largely controlled by the Chinese government, then obviously they're going to lobby for anything the Chinese government does or doesn't like.
Right.
And when a company like Activision takes that investment money from China, from a Chinese business, knowing, of course, that the Chinese business is controlled by the Chinese government, then they now have that that relationship with China in order to not piss them off, basically. Not mince words, not piss them off.
Yeah.
We had this back earlier in the year with the Hong Kong riots, and where there were some entities within the NBA saying, I stand with Hong Kong.
Right.
And then the NBA saying, oh, no, we don't. We don't stand with Hong Kong. Why would the NBA do that? Yeah. Because the NBA has a lot of partnership agreements and business interests with China.
Right.
They're trying to spread NBA basketball in China.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they don't want to piss off their Chinese investors.
That's right.
And so they don't want to have any official statements on Hong Kong.
There you go.
And I know LeBron James, as an example, took a lot of flack because LeBron James gets on his high horse, talks about social justice, but then he tells the Hong Kong people to shut up.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you the Chinese government is like easily top 2 or 3 worst entities on planet Earth for social justice. Yep. If you genuinely cared about social justice, you would be a huge enemy of the CCP and anything they stood for.
Yeah.
And you would be pro Hong Kong. And yet here we are telling Hong Kong protesters to shut up because we don't want to make our Chinese investors angry. This is more of the same.
Yep.
This is the Chinese government via Chinese big business investing in American business, helping to sway public opinion, helping to change things. Yep. But at the end of the day, I think what gets a lot of people the most is I don't think it should be censored at all. And of course, obviously, I sympathize with the Chinese people. But I can at least understand it being censored in China.
Right.
But Activision didn't just censor a video. They didn't make an additional 1-minute trailer for China. Right. They pulled it worldwide.
That's right.
They edited out the Tiananmen footage worldwide.
Yep.
And then released a new trailer having it completely absent.
Maybe the Chinese have a little bit more influence on them than we think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think, at the end of the day,
made in China, the discs are made in China, everything
is
printed in China.
This is definitely a conversation I think we can have in greater depth down the road. Maybe we'll find a really good guest for this particular topic to talk about how there are people out there that would say that the failure rests on capitalism. And I don't agree with that. However, I will tell you that there are absolutely some cronies out there who get in bed and take Chinese money that is coming from the Chinese government or is at least heavily influenced by the Chinese government. And then they allow the Chinese government this much influence on their product. And we don't want that. No. I don't want any influence from China. And to be clear, by the way, when I say I don't want any influence from China, I'm perfectly fine with influence from the geographic location known as China.
Yes.
I'm perfectly fine with Chinese people inventing things and creating things and having art and having influence.
Exactly.
I'm not okay with the Chinese Communist government.
Right.
I don't want their influence. Right. But we know you basically can't separate the two. That's the real issue. But to be fair, there's a whole lot of American corporations that have a whole lot of vested interests with the federal government here.
Yep.
And a lot of the same things could be said.
That's right.
Just saying.
Yeah.
We're going to take our last break. We'll be right back. Like us on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AlanMosleyTV. You can follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/AlanMosleyTV. Finally, subscribe to us on YouTube. It's youtube.com/AlanMosleyTV. You can't beat that, right?
No,
just
like
Alan Mosley TV. Go to a platform.
Yeah.
Type in Alan Mosley TV. See what happens. Just see what happens.
Why didn't you think of that in the first place, man?
I don't know. Because I'm stupid. Just
cut to the chase, It's just so simple that way.
Speaking of cutting to the chase, I was thinking about just chopping all my hair off.
No way, you look like John Cusack.
How dare you? I had said in the break that I was thinking about chopping my hair. Well, Blake had said your hair's getting long, and I'd said I'll just chop it all off, and you said no, you'll look like John Cusack. How dare you?
Yeah, well, do those worst guys you could look like,
You kind of look like John Gruden.
I don't know who he is, but people have called me, let's say I look like Gary Busey.
I don't think you look like Gary Busey. I think you look a little bit like John Gruden. John Gruden is the famous football head coach and commentator. He's currently the coach of the Las Vegas/Oakland Raiders.
Okay, I'll look at a picture of him.
Yeah. Look that up. I'll be interested to see what you think.
Hey, at least we're comparing ourselves to successful people, right?
Well, people call him Chucky because he looks like Chucky.
Oh God.
So ergo, you look a little bit like Chucky.
No, thanks.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
This got weird all of a sudden.
It's supposed to.
Go to every platform you want to. at Alan Mosley TV, except for Parler, where it's just Alan Mosley.
Yeah.
Because I'm the Alan Mosley on Parler. So you can find me on Parler at Alan Mosley. Everywhere else, it's Alan Mosley TV. Guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode, and we will see you next week.